Oh, board, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Woo! It's a new computer and it's like completely different. So
Thank you for making it. We're well, I guess, and Tom, you're starting us off in a good way. It is 1:30, and I want to welcome everyone to the inaugural meeting today. My name is Daniel Sayam, the Chief Administrative Officer for the Alberni Cloudfoot Regional District. I want to start before calling the meeting to order. I do want to start by acknowledging that the ACRD recognizes and appreciates that we are holding our inaugural meeting here on the territories of the Hoopa-Chesed First Nation and the Tishat First Nation. We're grateful that the nations are here with us today, this afternoon, and here to welcome our new board of directors. And before we go into the meeting, I would ask that first Chief Councillor Brandy Lowder from the Hoopa-Chesed First Nation take the floor.
Is red. Everybody can hear me now. As my third inauguration this week. Wow. Please, next time, spread them out a little further instead of day after day after day. I want to thank you for inviting us and Danielle to make sure that we were going to be here and ask in a proper way like everybody else has seemed to have done this year. We were quite amazed. And we want to thank you for that. We want to thank you for that respect you paid us. And I'm here to welcome you for the traditional territories of the Hoopa-Chesed and the Tishat First Nation. I know Wiley will probably come up and speak on their band's behalf, but I'd like to also wish you a congratulations as you try and work together and work to become a better valley, better side of the island. As I know you stretch from Banfield to the West Coast, and although it all seemed to come through Alberni, yeah. So I wish you luck and a whole lot of patience as you work through everything you need to get the work done. Congratulations.
Thank you. True. We also have, as the chief said, we have Councillor Harley Wiley with us from the Tishat Nation. And Councillor Wiley, if you could take the floor. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the words from Hoopa-Chesed. And this is my first event today, so I'm doing okay. And yeah, that thought about having them spread out a little more, that's not a bad idea. There's a whole lot going on this week, but it's all good. And welcome to do your continuing work in the traditional territory of the Tishat and Hoopa-Chesed people. And what I can say is that after having been away from my home, Tishat and Port Alberni for close to 50 years and returning back home 5 years ago, it has changed so much in so many ways, and good and bad. And I know this isn't the city, this isn't the town that I remember when I was growing up here in the 60s and 70s. However, like so many other leaders that are around the tables that we sit at today, I too look at it and see hope. I see opportunity. And those are the things that we're talking about at the table. And those are the things that I think that many of the other stakeholders are beginning to grasp, that we need to work together. And we at Tishat, Hoopa-Chesed, and ACRD, Port Authority, and the City of Port Alberni itself, including some of the predominant private sector people, we need each other. And I think that you other stakeholders are beginning to grasp that. And in the few meetings that I've been at with ACRD this last while, I can honestly say that I'm seeing some glimmers of hope that we are actually being heard this time, that we are being listened to. And I'm looking forward to the future meetings. I'm looking forward to the work that you are all going to be doing. Congratulations to those of you that just got elected, and congratulations to those of you that are continuing. So in the future, I look forward to us working together again. So Pleco, and good luck.
True. Thank you. Before moving forward as well, I do want to acknowledge that we have a special guest as well. Our MLA, former chair, former mayor, is with us today. And so thank you for being here to see us off in a good way. We didn't plan on any words, so okay, good. For those who are on the screen, we are talking non-verbally to each other. So I will call this meeting to order. I will make note as well that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast via YouTube. Prior to moving into the first agenda item that we have to cover, I do want to make a round of introductions because there are a lot of new faces around the table, and it'd be good for us just to do a brief introduction before we go into the oath of office. And I will start counterclockwise. I'll ask staff to introduce themselves as well because there's a lot of people who don't know your staff, so let's be clear with that. Wendy?
I'm Wendy. Lori, I should go use this. My name is Wendy Thompson. I'm the General Manager of Administrative Services for the Regional District.
Hi, I'm Susan Roth, and I'm the electoral Beaver Creek area. Hi, Debbie Haggard. I'm the appointed representative from City Council, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today. Thanks.
Thank you, Shari Minions, appointed representative from the City of Port Alberni.
Klama Finikote, Sport Lake Electoral Area Director, and welcome to everybody.
I'm Mike Sparrow. I'm the Cherry Creek Electoral Director for the next 4 months or longer, depending how things go. So hopefully it'll be 4 years. That's why.
Bob Beckett, Area A, Banfield. Looking forward to a productive 4 years with the team.
Dana Stega, Area C. It's nice to meet you all, and I'm excited about the next 4 years.
Marilyn McEwen, District of Ucluelet. It's really great to be back here. I was the mayor's alternate in my first term 8 years ago, so it's great to be back and see some familiar faces.
Afternoon, Kirsten Johnson for Toquot Nation.
Good afternoon, Fred Boyko, Beaufort Electoral Area Director. Thank you.
Hello, John Jack, Councillor for Hawaii First Nations. And yeah, the appointed representative. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm Terry Fong. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the Regional District.
Jenny Brunn, General Manager for Community Services.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Erg. I'm the General Manager of Planning and Development at the Regional District.
We have two online. Wilfred, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, and welcome everyone. Good afternoon. I just want to acknowledge that I'm coming to you virtually, but I'm in Vancouver, so I'm coming to you from the traditional lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. I just wanted to acknowledge that. My name is Wilfred Coots. I'm the appointed director for the Ho-Chukchi Tribe Government. Pleasure to see you all. See all my friends and colleagues around the table. True.
Tom, could you? Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm my name's Tom Steer. I'm the appointed representative from the District of Tofino, coming from the traditional territory of the Tloquet First Nation.
And if it's okay, I will introduce the names that are also on the screen that are staff. And so we do have Janice Hill, who's our executive assistant to the board and to myself. We have Paulo, who is our manager of solid waste. We have Heather Zenner, who's emergency services. Thank you, Heather. We have Charlie Starrett, who is our manager of fire services. And we have Michael McGregor, who is in charge of our park services. And of course, later on as a delegation, we'll have John Horn speaking to us. So thank you. And at this point, I would ask that we turn our attention to Commissioner Tracy Green, and we commence the process of taking oaths.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here for this. I'm going to call up everybody in groups, and then we'll get everybody to stand on the side, and I'll affirm or swear. So first two up on my list are Fred Boyko and Bob Beckett. This gentleman. So I'm going to read the oath to both of you, and I'll read both in one, so I don't read it twice. As a justice of the peace for and in the province of British Columbia, I'm here to swear you in. So you, Fred Boyko and Bob Beckett, do solemnly affirm that you are qualified to hold the office of Director for the Alberni-Clackawanna Regional District, to which you have been acclaimed. You have complied with the provisions of the Local Government Act in relation to your acclamation to this office. You will abide by all rules related to the conflicts of interest under the Local Government Act and Community Charter. You will carry out your duties with integrity. You will be accountable for the decisions that you make and the actions that you take in the course of your duties. You will be respectful of others. You will demonstrate leadership and collaboration, and you will perform the duties of the office in accordance with the law. Wonderful. So I'll get you both to come and sign your copy. So my next set is Penny Cole, Veda Siga, I hope I said that correctly, Mike Sparrow, and Susan Ma. Actually, Penny Cote. Penny Cote, I'm so sorry, Penny Cote. So same format to save us a little bit of time. We'll repeat it all for all of you. You, Penny Cote, Veda Sega, Mike Sparrow, and Susan Roth do solemnly affirm you are qualified to hold the office of the Director for the Alberni-Clackawanna Regional District, to which you have been elected. You have complied with the provisions of the Local Government Act in relation to the election of this office. You will abide by all rules related to conflicts of interest under the Local Government Act and Community Charter. You will carry out your duties with integrity. You will be accountable for the decisions that you make and the actions that you take in the course of your duties. You will be respectful of others. You will demonstrate leadership and collaboration. You will perform the duties of your office in accordance with the law. Thank you. Yeah. And then my final group of four, Shari Minions, Deb Haggard, Marilyn McEwen, and Tom Steve. Steve? Yes.
Tom's here. He's not here. Okay, he's virtually. So
Okay.
I'll have to conduct with him.
Okay. So, okay, that's fine. So same as before, third time around. I'll read to all three of you. You, Shari Minions, Deb Haggard, and Marilyn McEwen, do solemnly affirm that you are qualified to hold the office of Director for the Alberni-Clackawanna Regional District, to which you have been appointed. You have complied with the provisions of the Local Government Act in relation to your appointment to this office. You will abide by all rules related to conflicts of interest under the Local Government Act and Community Charter. You will carry out your duties with integrity. You will be accountable for the decisions that you make and the actions that you take in the course of your duties. You will be respectful of others. You will demonstrate leadership and collaboration, and you will perform the duties of your office in accordance with the law.
Thank you. Just as a small matter of housekeeping and explanation, I believe Tom Steele was sworn in earlier, so he's here virtually, but obviously not signing today. And I'll also flag, in case there's people watching that might not know, we do have 4 treaty members that are part of our board. They did not have elections, and therefore they're not being resworn in today. They are already sworn in. When elections take place, then they get to do the process as well. Moving forward, the reason why I'm chairing right now is every November, the board goes through a process for identifying a new chair and vice chair, and we will get to that shortly. I'm going to start by calling the meeting to order. We've done the oaths of office, and now we're going to start with the elections for the chair. And following the election for the chair, we'll do the vice chair. So I'll turn the meeting over to Wendy Thompson, the corporate officer, to provide an overview of the election process and conduct the elections of chair and vice chair for the board 2022-2023. Wendy?
Thank you. So as Daniel said, I'm just going to provide a brief, quick overview of our election process for chair and vice chair of our board for 2022-2023. The Regional District Procedures Bylaw specifies that the chairperson of the board automatically becomes the vice chairperson of the Regional Hospital District. And the vice chairperson automatically becomes the chairperson, or sorry, I might have got it wrong. The chairperson automatically becomes the vice chair of the Regional Hospital District Board. The vice chairperson automatically becomes the chair of the Regional Hospital District Board. So for procedures, I'll call for nominations 3 times for the position of chair and vice chair of the board. At the close of nominations, if there's more than one candidate for each position, those candidates will be given 3 minutes to outline why they should be chosen for the position. In the event of 2 tie votes, our procedures bylaw spells out the election is determined by a lot. So that's basically flip of a coin. So hopefully that doesn't happen today. As this meeting is being held hybrid, we have some directors that are on Zoom and the rest in the room, it'll be a bit different for how people vote. So the directors that are present in the room will pass you around ballots, and then you vote and we'll collect those. And those of you online, if I could ask you just to email me confidentially, that would be great. Thank you. And then Daniel and I will go and count the results and declare the results for chair and vice chair. Is there any questions before we get started? Great. Awesome. So I will call for nominations for chairperson of the Alberni Clackarat Regional District for 2022-2023 a first time.
Wilfred Coots, do you want to speak?
Yes, thank you. I would nominate John Jack for chair, please, if he so accepts.
Do you accept the nomination, Director Joe?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll call for nominations a second time for chairperson of the Regional District Board for 2022-2023. And I will call for nominations for chair a third time for 2022-2023 for the Regional District Board. Great. Well, there being no further nominations, I declare Director John Jack chair of the Regional District Board of Directors. Congratulations. Sure. Great.
We'll do the next step.
Yeah, so we'll continue on for vice chair. So I will call for nominations for vice chair of the Regional District Board for 2022-2023. Director Ross?
Yeah, I nominate Penny Cote.
Director Cote, do you accept the nomination? Thank you. And I'll call a second time for nominations for vice chairperson of the Regional District Board for 2022-2023. Director Minion?
Thank you. I nominate Deb Haggard.
Director Haggard, do you accept the nomination? Thank you. And I call a third time for nominations for vice chair of the Regional District for 2022-2023. Okay, there being no further nominations, each candidate will be given 3 minutes to speak as to why they should be appointed to, or elected to this position. We'll start with Director Cote.
Thank you. I'm accepting this nomination because I'd really like to stand up as vice chair of the regional district, more so for the chair of the hospital district. I think that it would benefit our area if I was the hospital board chair, because I am the senior member on our board. I have 17 years experience on sitting on this board. And I have over 10 years of sitting as chair of the Alberni Claypot Health Network. I also am the president of AVICC, which puts me on the board for UBCM. So Association of Vancouver Island Coastal Communities and Union of British Columbia Municipalities. On the UBCM, I'm now appointed to the Health and Social Services Committee, which I think would be very benefited by my position as vice chair of this board. So I would really like your vote on this, and look forward to working with each and every one of you. I've had great mentors in the past on this board. Number one being a very good friend of mine, Glenn Wong, who was exceptionally connecting to all of the board members in the past. And I'd really like to be able to do that as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Haggard.
Thank you, Wendy. Some of you I know, some of you I don't know, and some of you I know better than others. I'm the second term councillor for the city of Port Alberni, and thank God the election's over and I made it through, and I'm so thrilled to be back with the regional district again. Port Alberni is a changing community, both in the city and in the regional district. And I know that change is scary, but it's important that we work together to make positive changes for all the citizens of the Alberni Valley. My goal as a director is to develop relationships between the city and the regional district. We're at a very pivotal point in our community, and it is very important that we work together. With this, what the city does affects the regional district, and what the regional district does affects the city. So we need to work together to make those positive changes to our community. I do live in Cherry Creek, part of the regional district, and as a city councillor, I can bring a very unique perspective to the board. And I have a lot of important issues that we're going to be working together for in the next 4 years. I want to continue working and trying to create more strategic partnerships between the city and the regional district, such as recently the very important and successful recycling program that we worked together on. And the next initiative will be at the pool project. So we need to look at other things that are going to be benefiting both the city and the regional district to make those changes happen. So that's my goals for the next 4 years. Whether you're elected or not, I'll be here working as hard as I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Haggard. Okay, so we'll just be a couple minutes and we'll bring around the ballots. Great, thank you. So I'd like to declare Deb Haggard elected to Vice Chair of the Regional District and Chair of the Hospital District for 2022-2023. Congratulations.
With that, we'll take a moment and switch so that the chair can be the chair and I can go back to being, sorry, yes, thank you. Before we do that switch, and as we do that switch, there's a request for photos. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess for photos. Stay with us, Wilfred and Director Steer. We'll be right back. If everyone could join Chair Jack for a photo, that would be great. All directors.
Alrighty. Where's my computer? Okay, so before we get to the approval of the agenda, I think I wanted to finish off with a couple of remarks and maybe give Brandy and Harley a last chance to say something now that we're all sworn in and dealt with. I think this is quite a team with potential. Looking at who is here at the table now, I see people with working class backgrounds, professional backgrounds, people with experience in natural resources, land use, property, people with medical backgrounds, as well as fire service backgrounds. It's a strong, strong group. And that's something that gives me a lot of hope. One thing that I would also like to point out is by no unnatural act, we have an even split of directors, male and female. I don't know. I think so. There are 7 women, and I think there's 5 of us here. So there's two men on the screen. So I think the numbers add up that way. So that's great as well. So with that, I really look forward to moving into the future with everyone, building those connections that Deb was talking about, and ensuring we balance the interests of everyone in the region, knowing that First Nations communities are now becoming ever more a part of the conversation and continue to do so over the next 10, 20, 50 years. The more we understand that First Nations rights are moving forward, the more we act as if that is going to be a fact, the better off we'll be. The more voices we have in place, the better off we'll be. And with that, I think maybe we'll go in reverse order. If Harley or Brandy have anything else they'd like to add, please step up to the podium. Hopefully it's been placed in the right place. Wendy, we'll see if George has a conniption or not, but please go ahead.
Hopefully this still works. There we go. Congratulations. As Rebecca said, we usually do. We brought gifts one for each of the directors, which you're more than happy to grab on your way out. It's a thank you from Upechisi. This is leading a new way, as both Harley and I are experiencing with our rights and titles, even though we're non-treaty. We're exercising them more and more. We did before, only now we get to talk about it without, fear of racism. Well, there's always that, but, outright being told not to. People just more accept it going, okay, you're not destroying things. You're working with things. We're trying to make things better and continuing it on for generations to come. You have an opportunity in your next term, if you decide to bring on the Upechisi and Sechot as non-treaty, as voting members of your board, you can choose to do so and lead the way. I know the school district has already started it. Not waiting for BC legislation or federal legislation. They're pushing forward to have us seats there. So know that it's happening. And I would prefer the ACRD or city push faster, but I doubt you can match the school board. So I wish you luck and congratulations.
Hello again. And to add to the words that were just given to you, I think what I bring to this is we have a really good mix of education experience with Sechot now, and we've had different people comment on that. And for myself, I was wondering how I might fit in after being away for close to 50 years. And after a number of months, I'm finding some openings and some opportunities and getting a little more opportunity to feel comfortable and share what I really feel about some initiatives. And I think I will here today too. Our chief, Ken Watts, sends his regrets because he has other commitments and he's out of town right now. And something came up for Ed Ross, who normally does this type of thing and uses our traditional language and drumming and things in the welcome and brings along good gifts. And my apologies, I didn't bring any today. So all I'm going to bring is the promise of work. But one of the things that I brought up from time to time is, well, more than time to time, regularly is equity, equality. And after spending over 40 years working in all levels of government and being with federal government when the term affirmative action was being used, which it really wasn't, and with provincial government in the 90s, when there was finally the BC Treaty Commission formed and an acknowledgement that there were unresolved land claim issues. And with that, the term Aboriginal, which was First Nation, Inuit, and Métis, and a new term, employment equity, which was supposed to be an offshoot of affirmative action, which it wasn't. And employment equity was supposed to help with increasing the numbers of Indigenous people in the workforce, which it kind of did until there was a new government, and the new government would have cutbacks and some ministries or departments would be dissolved. And often the people with the least seniority were the Aboriginal people. So a lot of the statistics that they gained were lost in those turnovers. So here we have municipal government and regional district governments and others. And that's the message that I will continue to bring, is that the term that I've heard used from time to time that I think we can all understand is to have a workforce that represents the population that you serve. And in that respect, there's a ways to go yet. And I've worked as an employment and education counselor for 2 different friendship centers. I've learned how to work with private sector and government in larger cities, granted, like Victoria, Surrey, Vancouver. However, I still think there's an opportunity for us to explore what we can do to change that landscape here too. And in the group that we're looking at here, yes, there's a good mix between male and female and gender. And I don't see much of a mix for Indigenous people. So I'd like to bring that message to you. It's time for that to change too. And I've always likened what we're trying to do with, whether it's treaty, employment, or other things, is teaching people like we try to teach children in preschool. Learn how to share, learn how to get along. And I think if we can all go into that open-minded, that we are all in this together and we all have to work together to make this city, this region successful and prosperous. That means, in addition to having us on boards and councils, it's going to mean having some of our faces in the workforce too. So I'm looking forward to the work that we're going to do together, and I'm looking forward to other opportunities coming up and in the work that we have to do in the future. I mean it sincerely, good luck, and I look forward to it. Clicko.
Okay, well, thank you for your address. And I think now we'll get right into the approval of the agenda. I do believe that we have one piece of material that needs to be added officially included in the agenda. Oh, right there. Thank you. And I believe it has to do with the Banfield item, which is in your agenda.
Section 11.1A of the agenda.
Yes, okay. I don't believe there are any other items or material to add to the agenda, so if we could have a motion to approve the agenda as amended, please. Thank you, Director Sparrow, and seconded by Director Tsiga. Thank you. Alrighty. Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. That brings us to the next item, which is declarations. So this is an item. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, Wilfred. I didn't see that. Did you have a comment? Go ahead.
No problem, Mr. Chair. I was wondering if I could have a moment to make a few comments.
Yeah, I think that should be all right. Let's quickly do a motion to add that to the agenda just as a part of this. So thank you, Dr. Minions. Do you have a second? Director Haggard, all those in favor? All opposed? I would note that's over 2/3 majority, so please go ahead, Dr. Coots.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the board. I just wanted to make a few opening comments and welcome and congratulations to the board members who were elected. And to the new board members, I really appreciate you putting your hat into the ring and being elected. It's a big step, and it takes courage to be able to do that and ask the people to have you lead them. You come to the regional district and you represent your area, but I wanted to speak to the importance of also looking through the lens of the regional as a whole. I was elected in 2011 to my nation's legislature, and I sat on the board as an observer in 2013, and we joined in February 12th of 2014. And that was one thing that I needed to understand and learn and develop, is that regional thinking. So I know that we can all work together for the betterment of our region. And I just wanted to say congratulations and welcome. I do have to step away as my government performs this function of self-governance. I'm required to attend other boards. I apologize for not being able to make it in person. what you'll find if you're elected in the next term, if you choose to run again, this is the most important board meeting because you get to choose your seat at the table where you sit. So I just wanted to let everybody know I'll sit where the open space is when I come and join you for the next meeting. So with that, I'll say Chu.
We have you next to Director Cote. Thank you, Goose.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
All righty. Well, thank you for that. Okay, with that in mind, then I think we'll move into the next item, which is item 5, which is the declarations portion. So this is when we have an opportunity to look at the agenda items now that it's been set and declare whether or not we have a conflict of interest or an apparent conflict of interest or gifts exceeding $250 in value. This is all as per the community charter. So I don't think we have any declarations, but if so, now would be the time. Going once, going twice. Okay, with that, we'll go and move into item 6, which is the adoption of minutes. This is when we have the opportunity to make any corrections or additions or deletions to the minutes, depending on whether or not they're accurate. And once that's passed, then they go for signature and then posting on the website, unless they're in camera, but then we wouldn't be broadcasting that. With that, we have item 6A, which is the Board of Directors meeting minutes for October 13th, 2022. Director, thank you, Director Johnson, seconded by Director Beckett. Any comments, additions, deletions, modifications, etc.? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. That brings us to item B, which is the Banfield Water Advisory Committee meeting dated October 20th, 2022. Moved by Director Beckett, seconded by, thank you, Director Sparrow. Comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, that brings us to petitions, delegations, and presentations. This section of the agenda usually comes up faster. So, quick apologies to Mr. Horn, but this is the time when folks will come in and give presentations, and they'll either come in or connect in. Normally, we give 10 minutes maximum for a presentation, not including the follow-up questions and answers. If we're approaching the 10-minute mark, usually what I'll do is I'll give a warning of 1 or 2 minutes just with my fingers if they're here personally. And then once the time is up, I'll usually hit pause, ask the directors if we'd like to continue with the presentation. Unless it's like 1 or 2 slides from the end of a presentation, then we'll select that slide. But for the most part, it's this is something that can add to the length of a meeting, especially if it's something quite interesting or something important. And with that, I'd like to welcome Mr. John Horn. I believe you're the only one connecting. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and yeah, please take it away.
Okay, thank you for having us today, and congratulations on your electoral success, and thank you for serving your communities. I know it's not always an easy job to hold your roles, and so thank you for doing that. I'm with my colleague Teresa McDonald, who is our rent bank case manager, and we're coming today from Nanaimo, the traditional territory of the Nanaimo people, and we want to thank them for letting us live and work and play in their traditional territories. So we're coming today as Connective Support Society in Nanaimo. Just for your reference, we were formerly known as the Nanaimo Region John Howard Society, and ourselves and several other John Howards have changed our name to modernize and to reflect better in the kinds of services we deliver. So we're now coming to you as Connective Support Society in Nanaimo, formerly the John Howard Society. So today we're coming to talk a little bit about our rent bank function. And I'm going to bring up our PowerPoint slide if you bear with me for a moment, and then we'll just take you through that. Right, so for today, what we're going to do is just tell you a little bit about what the rent bank does and who we assist. We'll cover a little bit of the cost of the program and how much it is to deliver the service. And then, of course, really at the end of that, getting to the point of all this, which is really how we're looking to have you support us in this work. So we'll just roll along there. And please, if you have any questions at any point, we're happy to answer. We'll try to keep an eye peeled for that hand up on the screen, or you can interrupt us. But we'll just roll through this and we'll see where we get to. Thanks.
So Rent Bank provides a financial assistance to renters who are unable to make their rent for whatever reason. Usually it's health issue or a lack of employment or sudden layoffs. And we do this through no interest loans, which are repayable over a 24-month period. The maximum we give to individuals is $1,500 and families $1,800. And it can be a combination of rent or a utility issue. Mainly we are helping people who are in arrears, but it's also available to people who need a first month or damaged deposits, pet deposits. And as we all know, life as a renter is becoming more and more tenuous as there's increases in rent, and landlords are now getting more demanding about people who are a little bit behind in paying, a little less patience in waiting for that extra check to come in. So what we hope to do is just support people so that the people who are housed will stay housed.
So currently the Nanaimo Rent Bank serves the city of Nanaimo and the regional district of Nanaimo with all the member municipalities and electoral areas in the RDN. And we have been approached and asked to extend our coverage across Vancouver Island. So we're hoping to look at providing a rent bank service to the Mount Waddington Regional District, the Alberni-Clackett Regional District, so hence why our appearance today, and the Strathcona Regional District. We'll also be approaching the member municipalities within those regional districts to seek support for the rent bank function. But that's our goal, is to provide an island-based rent bank service.
And why choose Connective Nanaimo to do this job? When people in BC communities are already being serviced through Kamloops. But the Rent Bank BC has asked Nanaimo to take on the Northern Island just to provide a more local service and make it easier for people to be in contact with us. And we'll also partner with communities such as libraries or other local nonprofits who can help assist clients in filling out the forms that we need, and or who face other barriers to make an application to Rent Bank, or they can directly liaise with the Nanaimo-based office. And we're going to conduct a communications campaign to the Northern Island so that communities that are not aware of Rent Bank's availability will get to know about us. And then to back up everything, we would be providing quarterly reports to all of our local funding partners.
Thanks, Teresa. I just wanted to give you a little sense of what it costs to run a rent bank. And right now, the City of Nanaimo provides some funding to us, as well as the British Columbia Rent Bank, who receive some funding from the provincial government. So the City of Nanaimo provides us with our loan capital, and in 2021, they gave us $116,000 in loan capital, and we use that to make the loans. The BC Rent Bank folks fund the operating costs for our rent bank, and that's the staff and administrative costs associated with this. So between those two partners, we fund the rent bank that serves the City of Nanaimo and the regional district. When we were asked to look at serving the Vancouver Island north and west of Nanaimo, we looked at what additional costs would be incurred, and you'll see that we our budget for serving the rest of Vancouver Island would be an additional $32,000. The capital requirements to serve a community, all the communities north and west of us, would be a roughly $100,000 capital requirement. We have found that in our about 18 months of operation that we're almost all the way through our $100,000 that the City of Nanaimo gave us. So it's looking like $100,000 buys you about a year and a half of loan capital. As we get more payments back from people, of course, we are able to replenish that loan capital, but we're not bankers and we don't get the same rate of repayment that a bank might get. So even though we are quite strong on collecting and making sure that people are aware of their obligations and we're making it manageable for them, we're not going to get 100% of our loans back, you know. So that when the capital does kind of chip away over time and diminishes, and so we do need to replenish that, you know, every couple of years. So this is really the cost of the program. And I would just make a one additional point about the money is that in negotiations with the City of Nanaimo to replenish the fund for this year, one of the things they're going to be doing is tapping into the online accommodation tax. I think of it as the Airbnb tax. And when I looked at the criteria for that program, the city can make application for funds from that tax, and it can be used for affordable housing projects, but also for services like a rent bank or a rent supplement service. So this year, when the city goes to replenish or support us again, the city of Nanaimo will be drawing those dollars from the online accommodation tax base and not from local ratepayers, so to speak. So just a note to say that that's the shift for them this year, is to avail themselves of those tax dollars collected by the provincial government. So that's roughly the frame of how much it costs to run a rent bank, and roughly how much capital we need to kind of continue year in and year out. So I wanted to give you those dollar figures so you know what the scale and scope of the operation is and what it would be if we're successful in providing service to the rest of Vancouver Island.
And so the bottom line is that we're requesting an annual contribution of $10,000 from everybody that we're going to be talking to.
Yeah, that's including regional districts as well as their member municipalities. We'll be making this pitch to everybody on that list, the Parksville Qualicums, the Tofinos, Uclulets, everybody in between, you know. So we're stopping here today to the regional district, the Alberni-Clackett Regional District, but we will be making this similar pitch to all the member municipalities and regional districts on Vancouver Island. So that really sums it up. It's fairly short and sweet. The rent bank is sort of self-explanatory. Our request for support is a requirement of the funding from our friends at BC Rent Bank. They do want local partners to contribute to this work. So, but it is a partnership, and there is provincial funding that supports this work, as well as what we can get from our local partners. So we really are coming into today to ask for support for the rent bank. We know that rent stress is an issue, and the price of rent has gone up right across Vancouver Island. We're not the only place that sees the hike in rents going. And we understand that even communities that are in the North Island and the West Coast, those rent pressures are still quite intense, like they are here in the Nanaimo. So we know that the renters in your communities are experiencing the same stresses that ours are, and that it is quite a difficult situation for them. As Teresa said, our goal is to keep people housed. Once you get bounced out of a rental apartment, it's very difficult sometimes to find another rental accommodation. So we know that keeping people in their rental accommodation is the best step, rather than having them be, you know, showing up at our shelter systems and in our emergency systems. So our goal is to keep people housed, and we find that's a lot more cost effective than dealing with them when they now have nowhere to go. So that's our pitch to you, and we're happy to answer any questions or take any comments. And what I'll do is I'll just take the PowerPoint slide down so you can see what we're all about.
Great, thank you. So I have Director Boyka. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. For your current $65,000 per year cost, how many actual people are you helping in families? Second question is, what is the percent of monies that are currently being repaid by your clients right now?
All right, so the current caseload, we have about, I think about 80 active rent bank loans out at the moment, varying amounts, of course, depending on people's circumstances. So the average loan we make is about $1,000 to $1,400 in there, right? So you can think about 80 people right now are in our system, have loaned money to them, you know, when we're receiving it. A repayment base, it's a funny number because some months it's better than others, and it depends. Christmas is a hard time for people, so our payment drops a little bit. Tax time, it gets a bit better. I would say we're probably getting about 60 to 70% payment back payment on our loans, you know. So that's not as good as most banks get. They're a little harder nosed about this, but our job is not to squeeze people who are in distress. Our job is to support them. So we think a 60% repayment loan rate is pretty good. And when we talk to our colleagues across British Columbia, we're all about the same place. Everyone gets about 50 to 60% of their money back that they loan out. So we're pretty consistent with our peers. Yeah.
Thank you. Did you have a follow-up at all?
Nope. Thank you for the clarification. Thank you.
Dr. Steer, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chair Jack. Yes, thank you so much for the presentation. I'm just curious around the vetting process and how the society assesses priority need for your clients.
Well, everybody, anybody can apply, frankly. And one of the things we don't help people stay with their mortgage. And we only help people who, if they're out of housing, we're only going to help them if they've actually got a rental agreement that they're going to move into a place, so that we know we're going to help keep somebody housed. Also, we we don't want to put people more in debt. So if their income is far below what their output is, we unfortunately will not help them, because it's just putting them further in debt, and so we're not the answer for them. We also cannot help people who are in bankruptcy, but we can help people who are doing like loan consolidation.
I would say that we have a significant number of people who are on income assistance who apply for rent bank loans and are successful in getting those loans. So just because you're on income assistance and you have that kind of lower income doesn't mean we're not going to consider you, but we do look carefully at people's financial lives to make sure that, as Teresa said, we're not just drowning them in more debt, which can be not helpful sometimes. So, but even low income individuals will, if they have the ability to repay, will be eligible for the loan. So.
And even sometimes if we think those people might be a little difficult or have trouble balancing the bank, but for example, if they agree to, then we just take the money off their check before it comes to them. And when you think of dividing maybe $1,000 over 24 months, the payments are low. Also, people can defer payments till the end of the loan if they're having trouble that particular month.
Yeah, we give them an opportunity to tell us, this month is a bad month for me. I'm not going to be able to make that. Check's going to bounce, and then we just add it on to the end of the term. So we're good about staying in touch with people to make sure that they don't pay NSF charges, that we're not going through that process, because it's costly for us as well, of course. And so we do try to make sure that people are able to meet their obligations, but we do make the accommodation when they're not able to. So
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Director Minions, anyone else?
Thank you. Just wanted to really thank you for this program and the fact that you're running it. This is so incredibly important. And what we've seen in the city of Port Alberni over the last few years is a rental market that used to be very affordable, drastically become the other way very quickly. A lot of people who used to rent, a house for $1,500 to $1,800 are now trying to find a rental for $3,000, and just incomes have not gone up in their situations and cannot afford it. So I think given that really drastic and very quick change in our community, it's even more important to keep people in their rentals when they have them, because we know that when they leave a rental for whatever reason, they're not finding another one anywhere near the same rate. So just want to thank you for this. And from the city's perspective, when you come to the city of Port Alberni, I think there will be strong support for supporting this program. I wanted to ask a question of our staff, because this is not a service that we currently provide. What would be the process here to look to support it? And would we be looking at like a grant and aid program or creating a service around this? Thank you.
What we would like to look at is grant and aid. It's the fastest way for us to access something like this. If we were to create a service, it would be more contentious. And just having heard this for the first time as well, the advantage though of looking at a service over time is that rather than going to each of the municipalities and nations and whatnot, we might be able to do something better in a one-stop shop, which saves the society time if there was interest. So short term, I'd say grant and aid is what we want to do. And if there's an interest to go beyond that, then we work on a service.
Thank you. Next up, I have.
We appreciate the opportunity. If we don't have to visit every member municipality, that would certainly be nice. We're prepared to do whatever it takes. So.
Next up, I have Directors Cote and then Haggard. Did I miss anyone? No? Okay, thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Could we please have your slideshow card deck sent to the Health Network for a presentation for our next meeting or in the future? Maybe we could come there and present to the Health Network. One of our action tables was regarding housing, and the regional district has worked with looking at housing for our different areas. So thank you very much for this. I think it's very needed. Don't know what the regional district, I don't know, because we don't have any service for this, and it's not our budget time right now, if we could actually even participate. Maybe staff could answer that. Thank you.
Thanks. And if you're able to pop in an email address into the chat bar, then that we can send that PowerPoint to, we're happy to present to the Health Network. Absolutely.
Just as, if I may, through the chair, as a follow-up, I believe we have the presentation, John. We can, so we can forward it on your behalf to the Health Network. I believe their next meeting is on November 16th. So we also have an orientation. So there won't be any elected officials at that one. But if they decide to proceed with the meeting, they can certainly have the presentation and they'll coordinate with you. The other question in terms of, we're not in budget time, we're dangerously close to budget time. I would imagine, just looking at Terry, that we would be looking at likely a 2023 contribution, not a 2022.
Yep.
So, and I'm assuming your presentation is looking forward that way as well.
Yes, in our discussions with the BC Rent Bank, we've indicated that most of our partners are likely to begin contributions in the fiscal 23 year as opposed to 22, and they're fine with that. I mean, if they see commitments coming back, that they know it will be realized, then that's what they're looking for essentially. So that's fine if it's 2023 budget year.
Director Cote, follow up?
Thank you. So that would be referred then to our grant needs, because I don't think we have any services that we could run it through. So we could forward them an application.
Yeah, I think staff hear the message loud and clear. And if there's any concerns about it not being forwarded, you can pass a resolution directing us to forward it. Those won't be lost.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next up, I have Director Haggard. Is there anyone else? Yeah, I'll cap us off. Thanks. Director Haggard.
Thank you, Chair Jack. I'm just not really clear on the application process. Is it an online application that the person would go through? So you'd be working with local nonprofits in order to help people make sure they have the information and give them access to computer and help them out that way?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Online, if anybody can go to BC Rent Bank application, and the site comes up with every town in the province, and you click on your town saying Nanaimo, and then there's a small pre-assessment that you answer online, and then it just boots you right into our system. And then we ask people for 3 months of bank statements, and and being in debt is not a hindrance if your income, if you're managing your debts and you can manage us, then fine. And so then there's a paper application to do. And so sometimes it's just there's forms to fill out. And if people can't really do it on their computer, then we have paper, the hard copies that we would hand out or make available to somebody.
Yeah, we'll assist people in doing that application if they're not computer literate, for example. And so looking at all the areas that your jurisdiction covers, for example, we would find local partners. So if someone said, I'm not able to do the computer, I don't have one, I don't know how to work them, then we could refer them to a local partner and they would fill in the paperwork at a local office, which they would then scan and send to us or fax to us or whatever, right? So it would be a way really of helping people who just aren't able to do it on the computer. And we recognize that there's a certain amount of people who that's just a bit of a stretch for them, and we will make mechanisms available to help them do that in person.
So maybe another way we could help is give you some names of local nonprofits that might partner with you as well.
Yes, we're certainly going to be looking at partners like the Vancouver Island Regional Library, which has a nice network across the island, and then the local nonprofits in your community that would be colleagues of ours, so to speak. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And with that, I have just give you a few comments of my own. Here, there we go. So if this program existed in the 90s, my mother and my family would have benefited from it when I was a kid. And I think this is something that fills a lot of gaps that still exist today. And when they are filled, they're filled by payday loan companies. And the less we say about that, the better. I think the better off we'll be by helping people in this kind of preventative method is very, very helpful. It allows for working class people who are most affected by housing prices and rent prices and the lack of or having stagnant wages in place. This is something that I think you may want to speak to First Nations about in order to get contributions that way. This is I think my First Nation will be very much interested in, given that 80% of our people live away from our territory. Right. A lot of them live in the valley or other places on Vancouver Island. And with that, I think the only other thing I would mention is that homelessness and mental health and addictions are going to be some of the top priorities of the new premier coming in. So I think this is the kind of project that we can get behind and see if there are more opportunities, especially if it's successful. I appreciate the work that's being done. Hopefully this is something that we can see move forward. and let's collect data, see how successful we are in the future, see if we can make this a solution or one of the solutions to the problems. All right. On behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you for your presentation, and we will follow up. Have a good one.
Thank you for having us. Cheers.
Okay. With that, I'm on the wrong page. There we go. So that is it for petitions, delegations, and presentations. The next items we have coming up are correspondence for action. And these are items where direct action is asked of the board. And then following that, in the next is correspondence for information. But we'll take one at a time. First item is item 8A. It's a request for the appointment of an appointment and an alternate appointment to North Island 911 Corporation for the 2022-2023 year, now that we're past the election. So we have a possible motion here for appointing a director and an alternate appointee, another director, to the 911 Corporation. This was a post previously held by Director McNabb, who was a stalwart in that position. So we're going to have him come in and help with that. So if there's any concerns about being able to add value to this corporate board, you will be able to. We'll make sure that you have everything available to you. So with that, do we have anybody who is willing to put forward a motion or step forward? I'm just going to pick someone. Okay, Director Beckett.
I am interested, but I would also, Director Sparrow has also indicated an interest, and I don't want to start off the first meeting arm wrestling a friend. I would be interested, and I understand Mike is interested as well.
I'm interested in that, the honor of the department. No, with that though, I might suggest then maybe we appoint Director Beckett to the position and then Director Sparrow to the alternate position. And then in the event that covers off any future by-election or whatever we want to call it. And if you want to trade, that can easily be done as well, like switch places. But it depends. If Director Sparrow, you want to be appointed, then you can totally do that too.
I'd like to think of myself as a fairly humble person. I don't need extra work, but what I do bring is as chief in Langford, I was responsible for a dispatch service through the CRD for 16 departments, and have a fair amount of experience running dispatch. That doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily relate into the best decision making representing the board, but I do bring that with me. But again, I don't need it. If it's something that you really strongly would like, Mike, I would defer to you. And I hope you don't mind me being informal when I say Mike as opposed to Director Sparrow.
The chair recognizes the brotherhood. Dr. Sparrow, any comments?
I have not been behind the dispatch side of things like you have, but I've had 30 years in the fire service, and being in this valley here, we've had a number of problems with communication issues from 911 because of the shadowing of the radios. And get on quite often to a guessing game where you're driving to you saw the smoke. So I do have best interest in trying to do it better. I think we're both equally good candidates. So it's,
all right, I'm going to put the vice chair on the spot. Would you like to make a motion, Beth? Oh, use the microphone.
I'd like to make a motion that Director Beckett be appointed as the 911 board and Director Sparrow be appointed as the alternate.
Do we have,
Second that.
all right, thank you very much. Do we have any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. We'll have that as just one motion. It's easy to add it. And, okay. Next item is the appointment and alternate appointment for the Vancouver Island Regional Library Board. The representative in the past has been Director Cote. I think she might be a good reappointment unless she doesn't want to do it. Do you still want to be on the library board?
I could. It's going to be an exciting time. We're going through our strategic plan, and I continually lobby the province regarding funding for our libraries. Also, I've flagged that the regional area directors, the ACRD has no bricks and mortar library. Banfield has books by mail.
Yeah.
And we are not in any catchment. So it's, you know, that's the new, yeah. Tofino is doing a new library or asking for a new library in the near future and is not taking in catchment besides what's in the incorporated area. So that's a concern to me when we're paying into a service and we're not being accounted for. So sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Millions?
Thank you. I just want to add that I think this is a really important appointment because I've long felt the Vancouver Island Regional Library Service is a fantastic service, but locally in the Alberni Valley, we are not getting the value that we're paying in. Between the city and the regional areas, aside from the West Coast, we pay a combined $1.2 million a year for our library. And it's a fantastic library, but much of the cost that we pay actually goes toward building new libraries in Nanaimo, Campbell River, Tofino, and we want you to have a new library, and many small communities. And recently we were on the list for a renovation to our library that was actually put aside by the board and is not moving forward still, but of course, trying to get it back on the table. So I think this is a really important appointment because I think we need to make sure that we are advocating for improvements and you know, funding coming back into this valley from the valley's perspective. And I would be a little bit concerned about splitting that conversation off to possibly build a bricks and mortar library in Sprout Lake or Beaver Creek or Cherry Creek or the Beaufort, when we can advocate for the valley itself having an improved service. So I think Director Cote has done a fantastic job on this board in the past. I think just that comment concerns me a little bit as a board member, because I think that our voice here needs to be very united to get the value into having as great a service as possible. And I think right now we're subsidizing other communities getting new builds, and we're not even on the radar for a new build. And I certainly support Director Cote taking this role on. From the city's perspective, we have appointed Councillor Todd Patola.
Okay, thank you. So do we have any other comments or questions or motions? We can separate them up too, if that matters. Dr. Siga, please go ahead. Oh, use the microphone, please.
I'd just like to put a motion forward to have Penny Cote take on the
Okay, thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Ross. Okay, any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, so in the past, I had been the alternate director, and I never actually went to a meeting. Penny went to all of them. So with that, I'm thinking that it might be beneficial to have someone else from the Alberni Valley or maybe even the city to attend. I know that Tella, no? Or Councillor, no? Is anyone interested in?
Is the Tofino director interested? Sorry.
I will recognize Director McEwen. You had your hand up?
I have a question. I've served on this library board for 8 years, but as a councillor from the district of Ucluelet, and I know I have to take a year off from that position representing Ucluelet, but I don't know if I can be the alternate through this board.
Sorry, does anyone know the answer to that? Terry, go ahead.
It actually has to be an electoral area or Treaty First Nation member because the municipalities appoint directly. The library board asks that the appointee from the regional district is either an EA or a Treaty Nation member.
That's very interesting. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, then I might just put my name forward as an alternate since I do read the minutes and the materials. So that's okay.
I'll second that.
Oh, I'm not moving, but yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. With that, then, any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, motion carried. You caught me. I don't like to move anything. Okay, so that brings us to correspondence for information. Normally what we do is we have people review the correspondence for information, and then we have an opportunity for people to pull anything out and have a conversation about it. We usually stick a motion to receive all of the correspondence for information and then have the discussion about the items within it. So if we could have a motion to receive the correspondence for information, that'd be helpful. Thank you, Director Beckett, seconded by Director McEwen. Would anyone like to pull anything out for comment? I feel like I should prompt people's opinions on things, but I won't tempt fate. Okay, with that, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. All right, that brings us to item 10, which are decisions and bylaws. So the first item is 10A, request for decision regarding, I believe it's signing authority for banking purposes. Carrie, would you like to take us through it? Please go ahead.
For sure. So just housekeeping following the election of chair and vice chair today. We have for the last several years carried 3 signing authorities from the director's side just to make it easy in case of availability issues. So requesting that the board pass a resolution assigning the chairperson, the vice chairperson, and 1 other director, preferably someone who lives in the Alberta Valley in case we need someone to pop in to sign a check for us. And then the staff members, please. Happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions? In the past, it was, I believe, Director Cote who was our 3rd signer in the event that I was unable to get over the hump to come and sign things. Do we just want to do the same thing? Okay, I'm seeing some nods. We could have a motion to that effect, so I don't have to move anything. Thank you, Director Voico, and seconded by Director Beckett. Okay, so it will be Director Cote as the 3rd signer, and then all of the rest with the staff signers as well. Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. That brings us to item 10B, which is a request for decision regarding reporting of the 2022 official election results. That sounds like Wendy. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So following the general local election, the chief election officer is required to report the declaration of official results as well as a determination of official results to the board of directors. So I've submitted for you those results.
All righty. If we could have a motion to, I'll read out the motion, that the ACRD Board of Directors receive the 2022 declaration of official election results and determination of election results for the following district directors: C, Long Beach; D, Sprout Lake; E, Beaver Creek; F, Cherry Creek; and the declaration of acclamations for directors of electoral area A, Banfield, and electoral area B, Beaufort. Do we have a mover? Thank you, Director Sparrow, seconded by Director Cote. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Alrighty, that brings us into item 11, which is planning matters. So planning matters are generally only the purview of electoral area directors, although there are some instances where the director from Tofino does get to vote on planning matters, or the entire board, but that will be listed off in different sections under section 11. So one thing I will note, I would note that Director Haggard's going to the washroom. We do need a, not that it matters now, but we do need a quorum of the whole board in order to proceed though. So folks can't just disappear from, yeah. But that's just something we need to watch because it's been close sometimes, especially during COVID. With that, that brings us to item 11.1A, which is an electoral area director's Banfield official community plan amendment bylaw. I would note that this is the item that had an added piece of material. It is the agency referral responses. So I think we have everything. Director Beckett, would you like to take it from here? Or do we want Mike to introduce it? Sorry, Mike.
If you'd like me to introduce it, I can.
I'd like you to introduce it, Mike.
And then I'll just at the end note where, because the extra agenda item falls under the second motion for the public hearing. So I'll just give, for everybody's information, a brief overview. So this is a public hearing for bylaw P 1445, an amendment to the Banfield official community plan was held electronically using Zoom on Tuesday, October 18th. There were 3 members of the public in attendance and no letters of public correspondence received prior to the hearing. There were some questions raised from the public in attendance at the hearing, and that included some comments and questions on the impact of this 30-meter riparian area protection development permit area and the need to improve communications within the community. I would note that as part of that, this amendment is part of the overall zoning bylaw review project, and the amendments are proposed to the Banfield Official Community Plan to align with the OCP policies and objectives with the updated zoning bylaw. And this is a requirement of the Local Government Act. So any zoning changes are required to align to the area OCP. The OCP amendment was given first reading on April 13th, 2022, where the board gave first reading to the amendment for all amendment bylaws to all 6 of the electoral area OCPs, as they were required to align policies with the proposed zoning bylaw. And this is the first public hearing that we've held in with regard to those 6 OCPs. I won't run through all of the highlights, but if there is any specific questions regarding the amendments, I can answer them. And then staff recommend that the Board of Directors receive the public hearing report and minutes and proceed with second and third reading. As I mentioned earlier, the extra agenda item applies to the second motion where the board receives the public hearing minutes. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Director Beckett, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before I make the motion, I do want to follow up to your comment, Mike, and obviously thanks to staff for doing the presentation for our community. But with respect to the feedback from the communities, and expect that for organizations, especially the Tuaklat Nation, had a number of concerns listed. How do we respond as an ACRD board back to them with respect to the motions that are before us? And I know I didn't articulate that very well, but yeah, I'm just concerned about making a motion, recognizing that there are concerns being raised.
Yes, and so this referral went out as part of an overall referral regarding the OCP and the zoning bylaw. So we are reaching out to the First Nations, some contractors and developers, as well as the agricultural community individually with respect to the zoning bylaw changes, and then also have let all of the agencies know that part of the board's work plan, which we'll be reviewing later on, is to do a fulsome review of all of the community plans over the next 3 years. And so some of the sort of broader policy changes or discussions that people had, agencies had interest or comments on, can be addressed in sort of a more fulsome review, and just acknowledge that these were more minor amendments to the OCPs to align with the proposed zoning bylaw. So we are even if we're moving forward with this, we are still meeting with and reaching out to First Nations, as well as the others I mentioned around those changes. And then when we do the full review, there'll be more opportunities for more of a more vision with what the community wants and how the OCP bylaw would align with the agencies. Does that make sense?
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Most of it, but with respect to, and it doesn't matter who responded, but someone has identified a concern. What's the process for getting back to an organization that has identified concerns? So I don't know if I missed that in your explanation, Mike, but
yeah. So with something like our community plan, so our planner would get back to them and have some feedback as far as why we've left it the way it is, or there's an opportunity to make that change down the road. So sorry, I didn't explain that before.
If I may, through the chair.
Go ahead, Daniel.
So prior to adoption, there's dialogue and some responses that can occur. Yeah, I know the ALCs, directly said they want to align to make sure that, in essence, 20 acres is the smallest farming lot that we would see, and not subdividing beyond that. And then TOPA has other specifics, and so they are amendments that can be made prior to final, if so desired, correct?
Yes, and some of those comments will apply to other OCPs. If they're like the ALC comments would apply to the Albany Valley community plans in those electoral areas.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Daniel. With that, I will make the motion that the Board of Directors receive the public hearing report.
Thank you. Do we have an EA director second? Thank you, Director Ross. Okay. Comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, I would make the next motion that the Board of Directors receives the public hearing minutes.
Thank you. And the secondary? Thank you, Director Boyko. Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
And Mr. Chair, I would make the motion that the bylaw be read a second time.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Director Roth. Comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
And finally, Mr. Chair, I would make the motion that the bylaw be read a third time.
Thank you. Seconded by Director Roth. Okay, any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Director Cote, please go ahead.
Thank you. So I know that Sprout Lake public hearing is coming soon, and I'm just wondering how it's going to be advertised. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes, so that will be advertised through the newspaper and posted on our website. With this type of bylaw, because of the number of, it affects all of the properties, we don't do a specific mail out as a, for example, we have a rezoning application for a specific property. So we'll advertise it through the newspaper and the legislative process that's required. I do want to note too, just for everybody's information, sort of leading up to the official public hearing, we have had a lot of consultation. There were some that happened pre-COVID in person, a lot of online consultation and feedback. And as our goal as staff is to address, as many of the comments, concerns, answer questions that come up ahead of the public hearing, so that we have, a draft or a bylaw, that is acceptable to, the majority of the people, majority of the residents and agencies. So there was a lot of that information happened ahead of time.
Director Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Cote, it's a really good question. And because I'm, as staff can tell you, at our public hearing, there was concerns about the legislative process versus the practicality of using social media. And that's something that I look forward to having discussions at the board level at a retreat, as an example, to talk about moving into that next stage. And as you can tell, I'm not a young person, so social media is not my forte, but it's certainly something that I think that we do have to explore and to try to tie into legislative requirements. So, thank you.
Director Cote, please go ahead.
Thank you. This is changing our OCP is an important issue in a community. So I really want to make sure that the community is aware that we are bringing this forward. I know that it's to align our incoming zoning bylaw. So lots of controversy there. I know I've been telling the community that the process is not over. So I'd like to be able to tell them that this is part of that process, that they have the right, and this is their opportunity to be able to speak to these issues. So thank you.
Director Boyko, please go ahead.
I agree that we need to have better community engagement rather than just posting something on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Be that however it is, but we're finding in our area having good public meetings at the Beaver Creek Hall or whatever it is. I'm sure they do the same thing as Pro Lake, Cherry Creek, etc. Is very useful. A lot of people don't use Facebook, and depending upon something like that is not the most beneficial. Like,
it sounds like we're going to have a very broad and deep conversation about zoning in general and how we not only engage but approach it. And I think that's a conversation that literally every electoral area director is very interested in. So we can commit to the use of time for that, probably committees of the whole, that sort of thing. Also, you'll have electoral area committee conversations to have as well, and go through those processes. So that'll be exciting and potentially interesting, both ones. With that, that brings us to, unless there's anything else in that conversation, not seeing that. That brings us to item 12, which are reports. So in terms of reports, we treat them much the same way that we treat correspondence for information. We'll put a motion on the table to receive the reports, and if anybody wants to pull anything out during the discussion of that motion, that would be the time to do it. We only have a building report and I think an info report on census. So it's on and so forth. Could we have a motion to receive the reports, please? Thank you, Director Sparrow, seconded by Director McEwen. The only thing I would put out is I believe the city of Port Alberni is up to 10 votes, right? Yeah, I don't actually know if anybody else went up either, though. Is that correct? Yeah, Tofino did?
Hewlett and Tofino both went up by 1 vote each.
That is not
To 2.
surprising then. Yeah, that's, yeah, especially given how the populations have gone. That makes sense. Okay, any further information? This will be a place where the monthly schedules for meetings will be as well. So this will be the time to go, I can't make that Monday, can we move it? But it's not there yet. Director Cote?
Thank you. Just want to point out with the building inspector report that our total is 23 million, over 23 million. So that's significantly more than previous years. So just saying that our planning staff have been extremely busy, and just want to say thank you.
I think these are going to be important pieces of context for our budgeting conversation as well. All right. Is there anything that folks would like to add? Dan? No? No? Okay with that. Seeing no other comments, all those in favor of receiving the reports? All opposed? Okay. Motion carried. All right. So we would also have committee reports here. So every other meeting, there would be committee reports. We still have to actually assign people to that, and any other reports that might exist. So if there's something that we'd like to talk about with community meetings or other organizations doing something, we can add a report there and a member could say something there. We also have an item for unfinished business and anything late business. So after the agenda has been called and accepted, if anybody suddenly remembers something, we usually put it there for question period. Oh, indeed. Hit your thing so it goes on the camera there.
Can you see that?
Not really.
Okay.
That is a giant sign that says the Lakeshore Extension for 140,000 just went through. I believe that's been posted on our website and on our social media, and we get plenty of engagement that way as well. So with that, that brings us to late business, of which there is none. Question period. So normally this is when the gallery would be able to have an opportunity to ask a question and have it answered, or to get an answer back if it's not something we can answer right away. But also because we have a hybrid format of meeting and we're broadcasting on YouTube and on our website, people can respond to question period by sending an email to responses@acrd.bc.ca. And this is when we check to see if there are any actual responses from folks out there online.
So, Mr. Chair, we have no attendees online this afternoon, so no questions.
Okay. So to further explain where we're at now, now is the time to call a recess, and we'll go into the Alberni Clayoquot Hospital District meeting where Director Haggard will become Chair Haggard for that meeting. And after that's completed, we will adjourn that meeting, reconvene here, and then I'll read out the reasons why we will be going in camera. That's when the broadcast stops, and then we'll go from there. So could I have a motion to recess the meeting? Thank you, Director Sparrow, seconded by Director Johnson. Comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we are now at the hospital district. If you'd like to take over, please go ahead.
Thank you, Director Jack. Wendy, if I miss anything, just give me a kick under the table, okay? Thank you. I'd like to call the Hospital District Board of Directors meeting to order. First, I'd like to recognize that we're conducting this meeting on the unceded territories of the Shuswap and Chashat First Nations, and we're grateful for the opportunity to do so. I'd also like to provide notice that to the attendees and delegates that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed to YouTube and on the Regional District website. We have agenda in front of us. Is there any additions at this time?
I'll move adoption of the agenda.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. In front of you is minutes from the board meeting of October 13th. Is there any errors and omissions? Could you have a motion to accept the minutes as presented? Motion by Director Sparrow, seconded by Director Cote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. No delegates today. Correspondence for action, number 5. Correspondence dated October 26 from the Alberni Quaquat Health Network regarding 2023 table of partners recruitment. And there's a motion on the table. Dr. Jack?
Yeah, I'd like to move that Director Cote be appointed to the Alberni Quaquat Health Network, if she's okay with that. Yeah.
And could we have a seconder? Seconded by Director Johnson. Any other comments before we vote? All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations, Ken.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
The health network actually was looking for 2 appointments. Yes, so director for last year or up till now was Director Cote and Director Cole. So they're actually looking for another appointment.
Okay, awesome. Would anybody else like to be nominated for the second position? Dr. Sita? Okay.
I'll move to appoint Director Stiga for the second position.
Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Director Beckett. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. No correspondence for information. Report. Banfield Health Center, Director Beckett.
No report, Madam Chair.
Yeah. Alberni Quaquat Continued Care Society. Is that Dr. Cote as well, or?
Yes. No, that one is not.
No. Who is that?
So that was Director Bodner. So yeah, right now we don't have an appointment until January.
Okay. So we'll go on to the West Coast Native Healthcare Society. Dr. Cote, can you have a report, please?
Thank you. The 40 units of low-cost housing at Rainbow Gardens is accepting applications. They should be open any day for people to move in. So it's a wonderful process that's happened. Low-cost housing, there was 2 units for 2-bedroom, and then the rest are 1-bedroom units. 10 were wheelchair accessible, and I'm pretty sure that they didn't have full capacity or full tenants as of the last meeting that we had last week. So if you know of anybody that needs low-cost housing, I think they've taken most of the people that were in the hospital requiring tenancy. So it's been a wonderful process. Congratulations to them. I'd actually like to ask if this board could send a letter congratulating them. Thank you.
And you're taking notes on that? Okay, thank you. And Dr. Minions?
Thank you. Congratulations to Rainbow Gardens. It is so exciting to see that building coming to fruition. I'm wondering if you could talk about, is it, I'm assuming it's age restricted, 55 plus, or what the requirements are for someone to be housed there?
It is 55 plus, and low cost housing. I'm not sure what the threshold is, but yes, it's low cost.
Thank you, Director Cote. Any other comments? Great. Next on the agenda is the Inaugural General Hospital West Coast Directors. Director Steers, do you have any comments?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Had a meeting with the new site director, Sarah Gogo, at the Tofino General Hospital. It was just a general meeting to inform her of the role of the Regional Hospital Board. And she's just getting her feet on the ground. And so we'll be prepared to give a bit more of a statement at our next meeting coming forward. There's also going to be a meeting of the subcommittee of the Tofino General Hospital Foundation regarding an update onto the progress of where we're at in terms of the infrastructure, aka a potential new hospital for Tofino General Hospital.
Thank you, Director Steers. Now, this is West Coast Directors. Director McEwen, do you have anything you want to add?
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you so much. Alberta Quaquot Health Network, Director Cote.
Thank you. The minutes of the last meeting are attached along with the recruitment form. We are looking for new members for our table of partners. There was 2 appointments from the board here today. There will be a member from the city, I believe, and from the West Coast, I believe, as well. So looking forward to our next meeting, which is on the 16th, I think. I know that members of this board are having a training session. I will not be at that because I will be at the Health Network. We're having a face-to-face meeting, which we haven't had this year. So I'm looking forward to that, saying hello to and goodbye to members. So thank you.
It's been a long time since it's been face-to-face, that's for sure. Director Minions.
Thank you. I just wanted to note that the city doesn't actually have an appointee on the health network, and I think it would be worth considering that in terms of structure, that the regional district does appoint. We of course do have Director Haggard there just as a community member, but it might be nice for council to actually appoint so that we can make sure in the future if Director Haggard isn't there as just a member of council who happens to be interested in being there, that we can make sure it's intentional that we have someone there. So just something for you to bring back if that's possible. Thank you.
Daniel.
If I can add to that, I know that transit doesn't seem directly related to health all the time, but transit is a big issue, and we are going to have our manager of transit, Eddie, is going to be present at that meeting as well, so Director Cote knows. The Health Network is talking through transit. It's a keen interest, particularly for the West Coast, and directly in the West Coast, because that's where we're missing the funding. And so we're starting a conversation there in terms of seeking alternatives. And so that will be on the agenda, and it's something that will come back to the health board and the ACRD board in general as we talk about tentative solutions, given that at least for the short term, for the next year or two, it doesn't look like we have BC Transit as a partner. So we're going to flesh out some different solutions.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, West Coast General Hospital, Alberta Valley Directors. So who usually takes that? Me?
Well,
me. I have nothing to report today. Okay, any other reports? Dr. Jack.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's completely health related, but Kuwait did have an official opening for our Umixu Mother Center, which is something that we're building in the Alberni Valley that is modeled on the mother centers that are on the Lower Mainland. It's a place for young mothers, families to raise their children when they're in places of difficulty or family breaking up and so on and so forth. In addition, we do have childcare attached to that. It was opened yesterday, so there are quite a few notables there. And yeah, I think this is something that would actually add to the health of the community. So
absolutely. Great, thank you. Could I have someone make a motion that the Regional Hospital Board of Directors receive reports A to G? Motion by Director Gorko, second by Dr. McEwen. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. No unfinished business, no late business, question period. Any questions from the public?
No, Madam Chair.
Can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Motion by Director Johnson, seconded by Director Sparrow. All in favor to adjourn? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back. So this is when, this is the end of our broadcast period. So I'll read out the reasons why we'll be going in camera for the in-camera portion of our meeting. So this concludes the public portion of the meeting. I'd like to thank those of you in the gallery who stuck it out, especially given the fact that I think all of you have stuck out 2 or 3 previous meetings to the same degree. With that, I will move as chair that we go in to close the meeting as to the public as per the community charter under section 91A, personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the regional district or another position appointed by the regional district. I believe that's the only item we're covering in camera, so I'll move that. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Johnson. Any further comments? Thank you for coming. There are above the microwave, there are to-go cups as well. Yeah, all good. All right. I made 2 pots and probably wasn't a bad idea. Okay.